going on, guys? It's Kaiba Lord, and I know it's been a while, but I'm finally getting back into Yu-Gi-Oh! Into deck building, so I'm bringing you my updated Gren Maju Stun. If you've seen my posts on Instagram, you know I've been working on this deck for quite a while, and I'm really excited. I've looked at different builds, so this is inspired in a few builds I've seen going around online, so obviously you have to put your own spice to it. I'm not playing triple tactical talents, I'm not playing droplets, I'm not playing any of the new cards because I don't have them, but if I did have them, I would definitely play them, and I'll tell you what you can swap them in for if you do have them. So before we begin, as always, thank you guys so much for all the support on Facebook, on Instagram, and here on YouTube. We finally reached 8,000 followers on Instagram, which is insane. So we're hoping to get to 10K by December, so hit that like button, sub to our YouTube, and follow us on Facebook as well. The reason I've got these spread out is so we don't cover up the beautiful Appaloosa artwork, which is honestly one of my favorite. So without further ado, guys, let's get started. Alright, so here we go, guys, with the main deck. Remember, this is a deck that works for me. I have tested it through remote duels, and it's worked out really well. I managed to stun my opponent for a couple of turns, stall him, and then OTK with a 14k Maju. So remember, this is what works for me. If you have a different opinion, if you've got suggestions, leave them in the comment section below, or DM me on Instagram, which is where I am 24/7. So let's begin. Of course, we're playing Gren Maju, the big bad boy of the deck. We're also waiting for Konami to give us our secret rare print of Gren Maju. But of course, man, Gren Maju, you have to play Gren Maju. 3 of. There's been duels where I've actually sided this out, so I'll get into that right now. But yeah, 3 Gren Majus. Put that there. We're playing 2 baby Gren Majus, so Eater of Millions. There is quite a few cards that lock you out of special summoning. So in this deck, this is the only card you have to special summon. You're going to rely more on normal summon, so just 2 Eater of Millions we're playing, then 3 Inspector Border, which is an insane card. You have to get the effect right. It locks out so many people from activating monster effects, so remember, you have to choose wisely what you want to normal summon. This is one of my absolute favorite cards because it's won me so many games. Fossil Dyna, my OG unlimited print. But yeah, Fossil Dyna's won me so many games. Basically locks you and your opponent from special summoning. But if you've got enough back row to protect it, it can literally win you duels. It'll frustrate your opponent so much. So if you've got a border on the field and then you've got a Fossil Dino on the field, like, your opponent is going to struggle a lot. So this is it for the monsters. You'll see why. It's a trap heavy deck. We're playing a few spell cards, but these are all the monsters we're playing. So choose wisely what you want to normal summon, which is usually going to have to be Border or Dyna. Dyna also pops every special summon monster when it gets flipped up. So if your opponent hasn't got any like monster effect negations, that can basically clear the field for you. Maju, remember, in this deck, like, he's your OTK pretty much. Right, so moving on to spells. We're not playing as many spells in this deck, but basically it's our draw power, and then we're playing 2 1-ofs. So let's get to it. We're playing 3 Pot of Duality. Basically, you reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. Choose 1 to add to your hand, the other 2 get shuffled. This locks you out of special summoning for the rest of the turn, which is where the whole normal special summon monsters kick in. So the only one you really have to special summon is Eater of Millions. So you obviously don't have to worry about it as much unless you want to bring something out from the extra deck, but you don't really need to. So that's part of our draw power. We're playing 3 Pot of Extravagance. Remember, you have to activate this at the beginning of your turn. It locks you out from adding cards, from drawing cards, I believe. So yeah, choose wisely when to use it. I always tend to go for banish 6, draw 2. We're playing 3 Pot of Desires, again for draw power and for our Gren Maju to feed him some juice. People say, like, a lot of people don't play Extravagance and Desires together because they say it conflicts quite a lot, because obviously that locks you out, and then if you use that first, you then can't use that. I play all 9 because I think it's really good, because if your opponent ashes Extravagance, it negates the effect, so then you can then drop a Pot of Desires. You can't do it all the way around, obviously, because that has to be activated first. But also, remember, you're banishing 10, so you're banishing some of those, you might. And yeah, I mean, we want lots of draw power, we want lots of juice for our Maju, so I think 9 is honestly really good. It's worked really well for me. There's obviously been times where I draw into 2 of those, one of those, but I mean, it's really good. Try it out. It's worked really well for me. So that's it for our draw power. Our one-ofs, Raigeki, I've seen a lot of people starting to play this again, and you can see why. You can see why it's at 1. Basically, just pops every monster your opponent controls. Really good card if you don't have Lightning Storms, although it's easier to use than Lightning Storm, because Lightning Storm you have to meet the requirements, so I think it's quite good. And our second one-of, which is an absolute powerful card that just came out of the ban list, you already know, Harpy's Feather Duster, which again, we know why it's at 1. It's basically Lightning Storm in 2 cards without any requirements, without any cost. You have to play these. Obviously, they're one-of, so you might banish them, but if you manage to draw them, there you go. Pop your opponent's back row, pop your opponent's monsters. Really, really insanely good cards. That is it for our spell cards, guys. I will explain a little bit more about, like, combos and stuff at the end. Moving on to trap cards, guys. I absolutely love trap cards. These are, like, this is my favorite part of the deck. I'm playing 20 trap cards. It's a 42 card deck, so you can say like 50% of the deck is trap cards. I had 2 last minute edition trap cards, which are recommended by my buddy Hardcore Cards. Make sure you check out his IG. I'll let you know which one those are, that I hadn't like really looked at them. But when I like tried putting them in this deck, I was like, wow, they're really good in this deck. So I'll get to that right now. But first, we're playing 3 Solemn Judgments, the beautiful Ghost Rares. We're playing 3 Solemn Strike. Sadly not Ghost Rare or Ultimate Rare. There is no Ghost Rare. But 1 Solemn Warning. I bumped this up to 3. If you saw my last Maju build, I was playing only 2. Because I thought 2 was fine, but again, we're playing Pot of Desires, and this format, there is a lot of special summoning, Dogmatica, and all those decks. This is one I saw people playing in Stun, so basically pay 2,000, negate a summon, special summon, or I believe it's a spell card that, an effect actually, that, yeah, spell trap card, or monster effect that special summons. The Solemn Judgment, you have to time it. Like, you have to know when to use it. Don't just negate anything. I usually try and save it for when they activate, like when they drop a Twin Twisters on me, when they drop Lightning Storm, that's when I Solemn Judgment them. Or if I'm gonna OTK with like Gren Maju and then they just suddenly drop the Imperm, you need one of these. You always need a Solemn Judgment face down, because it basically just negates anything when they're going to try and pop your back row. But yeah, 3 Solemns, 3 Strikes, 1 Warning. And again, you also have to time these as, like, that takes half of your life points, that takes 1,500, and that takes 2,000. So yeah, you have to be really careful activating your judgments. We're playing another card I absolutely love, 3 Crackdown. Just got the rarity bump in the 20 Megatin. 3 Crackdown, basically, it's a continuous mind control. You obviously have to set it first and then activate it next turn. but it's a really good card. You can take control of your opponent's monsters and then just like link them off. We're playing a few links in the deck. We're playing a few Xyz, but it's still a really good card. 3 Crackdown. We're playing 3 Compulsory Evacuation Device. Basically, there's a few decks that rely on one normal summon. So, for example, maybe Dogmatica, maybe Invoked, where they normal summon the Alistair and then search their invocation. So this is a really good card just to like bounce back their Alistair, or if they're linking into something big and then the link doesn't have protection, just bounce it back to the extra deck, to their hand. It's a really good card. It's messed up a few of my opponents a lot, because they require on that normal summon or any summon really. We're playing 3 Infinite Impermanence, obviously one of the best trap cards in the game since it first came out. You already know what it does. So these are our stun cards. Obviously you're stunning with Fossil Dyna, you're stunning with Eater of Millions, because if they attack you, it banishes a monster. You're stunning with Inspector Border, you're negating effects, you're taking your opponent's monsters, you're bouncing it back, and you're obviously negating summons with the Solemns. So you can kind of like tell how this deck works just by looking at the cards. We're playing 2 Storming Mirror Force. I was really debating this card a lot because I'm like, I don't really like mirrors, but this one's really good. I've seen people playing it a lot now. Basically, when your opponent's monster declares an attack, return all attack position monsters your opponent controls to the hand. So you can have that set down for when they're going to attack you directly, or they're going to pop your Dyna. That's a really good card, and it's frustrating for them because it basically bounces back all their attack position monsters, which if they did that to me, I would just scoop out of rage. So that's a really good card. The last minute addition that I added, that it was recommended by my buddy Hardcore Cards. Again, make sure you check out his IG. It came out in Rise of the Duelist, so I lied when I said I'm not using recent cards, but the card is Dogmatica Punishment. If you haven't read this card, I'm going to read it to you. Target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls. Send 1 monster with an equal or higher attack from your extra deck to the graveyard, and if you do, destroy that monster. Until the end of your next turn, after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters from your extra deck. You can only activate 1 Dogmatica Punishment per turn. So it does target, unfortunately, but it's basically 1 easy pop. Gren Maju Stun, at least this deck, does not rely on the extra deck at all. You're stunning and you're OTKing with your main deck, so you do not need the extra deck for anything except Pot of Extravagance, obviously. But if they summon a boss monster that doesn't have protection, or something that can't be destroyed by battle, etc., this is such a good card, because basically, say they bring out like a Burl Sword that can't be destroyed by battle. All right, so I'm going to activate Dogmatic Punishment, and then I'm going to send, maybe my Burl Sword, because their attack is equal. So basically, with that, sending that to the graveyard, you've just popped their Burl Sword, so they're not going to be able to OTK you. And obviously, you can't special summon till the next turn, to the end of your next turn. So this you really want to activate during their turn when they're going to attack you, whatever you want, really. But remember, we don't rely on the extra deck, so this is such an underrated card, in my opinion. I guess people overlooked it because it's a common, obviously, but it's worked really well. This is what made the deck 42 cards. I don't think bumping it up to 3. I don't think I'll bump it up to 3, really, because it's once per turn. And I don't know, I just think 2, testing it with 2 at the moment has worked really well. So definitely, if you pulled it, definitely have a read to it, hold on to it, because people are going to start noticing this card. Really good, basically a free pop. So that's it for trap cards, guys. So yeah, moving on to the extra deck. But before, quickly, if you're going to use Dogmatica Punishment, and I used the last example of Burl Sword, remember, you have to activate this before he declares an attack, or like before he attacks, because remember, he gains half of your monster's attack points, so therefore your Burl Sword won't be with an equal attack or higher. But like you get the example. So if they summon like a, I don't know, Makaba 2500, okay, I'm going to send Starving Venom 2800, pop your Makaba. And a lot of invoked players never negate trap cards because they don't hold on to trap cards in their hands unless it's like an impermanence. So that's a really good card. Like, honestly, guys. I luckily pulled 3, but it's a card I obviously didn't notice because it was just a common. But yeah, moving on to the extra deck. It's just like a bunch of random cards in the extra deck. There's a few useful links if you want to link, but like as I said, you don't really rely on the extra deck unless it's for Dogmatica Punishment or for Extravagance, so it's just a bunch of randoms. Obviously with Crackdown, if you manage to take your opponent's monsters, hopefully level 8s, you take control of 2 level 8s, link them off, or Xyz them off, but I'm going to show you. We're playing 3 Link Karibos. The reason I'm playing that is for, what's his name? Eater of Millions. Eater of Millions, remember, he can't be used as fusion material, he can't be used as Xyz material, you can only link him off, and Link Karibo is the level 1 monster, which is Eater of Millions. So if you just want like basically a monster attack negate, Link Karibo, but you don't have to. 2 Nightmare Phoenix if you're really struggling with a spell or trap on the field. But again, this is just if you want to, if you can manage to stretch into Link monsters. But I mean, the deck is pretty balanced. You'll be stunning your opponent. You'll be like popping the back row with Feather Duster. You'll be negating with Solemn Judgment. And I have got more back row hate in the side deck. So yeah, Nightmare Unicorn, Borosaur Dragon, which is like, these are just 3 extra deck staples. You already know what they do. We're playing a few fusions. I've honestly not changed the extra deck at all since the last Maju Stun. If you saw the last one, you could see I was playing Super Poly. But I've seen a lot of people not playing it, and then it's also like a card you don't really need, so I took it out. But I kept these in just for the fact that we've now got Dogmatic Punishment, so we've got a 2700 attack, 2 2800 attacks, and then 3k beaters. So anything below 3000 you can pop with Dogmatic Punishment, and obviously sending these 2 were 2800, 2700, but it's Starving Venom, Fusion Dragon, the Predaplant Fusion, the second Predaplant Fusion, and then the World Chalice Scar Dragon Almarduke. But yeah, these are just Dogmatic Punishment targets. You can add Super Poly. I wouldn't main deck it, but I would definitely side deck it if you want to. And then if you manage to steal 2 level 8s from your opponent, the Draglubion package, you already know what it does. Attack with Numeron, like if you're going second or if you're going first, a Hulk Harbinger to negate a spell. This is quite a confusing effect, but remember it only negates spell cards, and it's once per turn. It doesn't negate monster effects, so read your cards, guys. So yeah, that's it for the extra deck. Again, these are just like random cards I've kept in here. So on to this side deck. As we know, this is the hardest part of deck building because the meta is always changing. There's different formats everywhere. So I just went for like the basic stuff that you can side deck. So obviously we are still playing it. 3 Nibiru. Konami was not joking when they advertised the release of Nibiru that it would change the game forever, and it definitely has. There is still a lot of combo decks out there, so Nibiru is still such a good card. Yeah, there is cards who can play around Nibiru, but most of them can't, so Nibiru, such a good card. I wouldn't main deck it in this Maju Stun because you've already got enough negates and enough stuns, so side decking it is really good if you need like that extra board clearance. So 3 Nibiru. We're playing obviously a 2019 Megaton promo again. Dark Ruler No More, which in the past year has become such a good card. It's become such a good staple. Basically, it was really good for Adamancipator, I believe. But basically, negate your opponent's monster's effects. They can't negate anything they can't activate anything in response. The only downside is that they take no damage, but it still works really well for setting up boards, for setting up negates, for clearing fields. So 3 Nibiru, 3 Dark Ruler no more. Back row hate, we've got 3 Cosmic Cyclone. It was a debate between Twin Twisters because it obviously pops 2, but I mean, Cosmic Cyclone's proven to be better than Twin Twisters because you pay life points. You don't have to discard like Twin Twisters, and it banishes the spell. So if it's something like Eldritch or Invoked, banish their invocation, banish their magical meltdown. But yeah, Cosmic Cyclone, and you have to be careful as well because remember, we're already paying so many life points with our Solemns, and then Cosmic Cyclone, that's another 1,000 life points, so you got to be really careful. We're playing a card a lot of people hate, that a lot of people wanted banned. There can be only one. I've got a friend who absolutely hates this card. Jay, if you're watching, bro. So yeah, there can be only one, just destroys so many decks. You already know what it does as well. Basically, you and your opponent can only control one monster of each type. So with Gren Maju, it doesn't really affect you, well, I would say as much, because obviously it just contradicts with Eater of Millions and Gren Maju because they're both fiends. But aside from that, Border's a machine and Fossil Dyna is a rock, so it doesn't affect you at all, I would say. So it's such a good card. Definitely use it for pure type decks. Really good card. Another card that I think I've seen like 2 people playing, that a lot of people should play, I would say, is Dark Bribe. It's honestly saved me from so many matches. Basically, you can negate a spell or trap card effect, and if you do, your opponent draws 1 card. Like, yeah, they draw that 1 card, but it's still a spell or trap card negate. So basically, this deck is a want to go first, and when they see that you're playing lots of back row, of course, game 2, the Lightning Storms are going to get sided in, the Twin Twisters, the Cosmic Cyclones, the Solemn Judgments. So you've already got your Solemn Judgments to negate, but this is just like 3 more spell and trap card negates, and the cost isn't as heavy as your half your life points. Yeah, that 1 card might be the combo piece for your opponent, but this is honestly, there was a matchup I was having where I was going to OTK with Gren Maju. It was game 2. I was going to OTK with my Gren Maju, and then my opponent dropped the Nimperm, and then I was like, oh my gosh. So they targeted my Gren Maju, so I was like, okay, basically it goes to 0. So I remembered I actually had this face down, so that I just flipped it. They drew a card, which didn't matter because I was going to OTK them, so negated the Imperm, attacked for game. So such a good card, Dark Bribe. I don't know how many prints this has, but if you want a shiny one, this is the WGRT. I don't know what that pack is, but yeah, Dark Bribe, Dark Ruler no more, there can be only one, Cosmic Cyclone, and Nibiru. If I had triple tactic talents, I would definitely side deck that. I wouldn't main deck it. Droplets, I would definitely side deck or main deck, but for like a Gren Maju OTK deck, not a stun one, because as I said, we've already got like quite a few stuns, and most of these cards are affordable, so you won't be spending like hundreds and hundreds of pounds or dollars building this deck. But yeah, now just a quick some things I want to point out. If I'm going first, obviously, and I've got enough things to protect it, I always play Fossil Dyna in attack mode and then set my back row past because they can't special summon. Or if I'm going second and I've got no outs to their board, Dyna face down, flip them next turn, or it gets flipped when they attack, pops every special summon monster on the field. It also pops yours, so you have to be careful if you've managed to special summon something. Eater of Millions, I always banish 5 from my extra deck. And again, it boosts your Maju's attack, and he gains, remember, he gains 100 attack points for each banished card you have and for each card your opponent has. So bear that in mind, because it happened in the duel one time, and I attacked for game, and my opponent's like, well, you've only got this many cards Spanish. I was like, no, but it counts as yours as well. And he had like, I think 20 cards Spanish, because he used 2 Pot of Desires in the duel. So that was like 2k for my Eater of Millions. Maju, you already know. Inspector Border, he's got quite a complicated effect, so you have to really know what he does. But he can't be summoned if you've already control a monster, so he can't be normal summoned, but he can be set. So if I've got like a Fossil Dino on the field, and then next turn I'm going to set my border, he gets attacked, he gets flipped, or I flip it, that is honestly like such a good board to have in this Maju Stun, because no monster effects and no special summon. So say if I'm side decking, like there can be only one that just like locks your opponent out of possibly anything, unless they've got like kaijus, or they've got like infinite impermanence and stuff like that. But yeah, going first, obviously this is a going first deck, remember guys. Going second, we do struggle quite a lot, but I mean, you just gotta give it your best. Going second, basically Border's the one you want to draw into, or Dinah, set him down. You have to be really patient with this deck. You're not going to win in 1 turn. You're not going to win in 2 turns. There's been duels where it's taken me 10 turns to like win. And I know how fast Yu-Gi-Oh is now, but this is honestly a slow deck. So if you have the patience for it, and remember, there's obviously, this got printed in Duel Devastator. This has had like 1 billion reprints. Crackdown is absolutely cheap. Compulsory again got reprinted in Duel Overload, I believe. Infinite Impermanence is it's definitely shooting back up in price, so pick it up as soon as you can. Solemn Warning got reprinted in Duel Devastator. Storming Mirror Force, there is common copies of this. It's really cheap. In England, it's like £2 a copy, I believe, for this gold rare print. Dogmatic Punishment should be pennies at the moment. Pick it up as soon as you can if you're going for rogue decks that don't require the extra deck. But yeah, Gren Maju, I mean, I don't know how expensive he is, but he shouldn't be more than like £1.50, $1.50 a copy. Eater of Millions, I believe he's had 2 reprints. He's got a common reprint, definitely. Inspector Border got reprinted in Duel Devastator. Fossil Dyna has had a reprint in every single rarity. So basically Secret, Ultra, Super, and Common. So he's absolutely cheap. These secret rare copies are really hard to get a hold of. So if you're a rarity freak, they are quite hard to get. Nibiru, sort of like in the mid-range price. Dark Ruler No More as well. I don't remember how much these are. If you know how much these are going for, like, leave it in the comment section. There can be only one. This is the OG print Exfo, but it was also reprinted in Duel Devastator. Cosmic Cyclone was reprinted in Duel Devastator as well. And even these secrets, they shouldn't be more than like £2, like $3.50 a copy. Really cheap cards. So this is like, I would say this is budget friendly, but then people attack me with, oh, but you're playing Nibiru, but you're playing Infinite Impermanence. Like, yeah, the staples are expensive, but the core of the deck you can possibly get for like less than like $50. Harpy's Feather Duster. I picked up like a lot of copies of this before it came off the ban list. So I was like, this is definitely coming off the ban list soon. I can feel it. So I bought a few copies. I believe I got them for £10, so like $13 US. They're now 20, they're now £30. So like they've definitely shot up in price. This is the LCYW print I'm playing. I have got the game promos as well. So Raigeki is absolutely cheap. It's had so many reprints. Pot of Desires just got reprinted in Toon Chaos. And there's like so many reprints of this. It's printed in every rarity actually, obviously except Ghost Rare. So that's absolutely cheap. Part of Extravagance, reprint in the Megatins, Toon Chaos. So I believe a copy's going for like 15-20 US dollars. So, I mean, still affordable. Part of Duality, it's got super rare, it's got ultra rare, secret rare, and it's got a common. So that's also quite like an accessible card. Extra deck, Link Haribo's pennies, Nightmare Phoenix's pennies. Unicorn has had, I believe, 2 reprints. So it's still affordable. Boral Sword is still in the 20 mark. So yeah, these are all like just pennies as well. Well, Starving Venom, he's got a common print as well. These are like, I'm a rarity freak, so these are the OG innovation prints. I believe for Goobleon's in like the 5-10 range, 10-15 range. Hope Harbinger's got a super rare print, which is like pennies as well. But yeah, this is it, guys, for my Maju Stun. Let me know what you think. Hit me up on Instagram if you've got like further questions, if you've got suggestions, or leave them in the comment section below. Remember to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I do this for fun. I do this for you guys. I really enjoy doing this. So thank you guys so much for all the support. Thank you guys for the 8,000 followers on Instagram. Kaiba Lord out.